Well, for more on the deteriorating situation in Syria, I'm joined now by Bilal Saab, a fellow at the Monterey Institute for International Studies. Bilal, thanks very much for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Conflicting reports of who might be responsible, but what would each side have to gain?
Well, first of all, the gap between the narrative of the regime and that of the opposition could not be wider. It is really beyond bridging. Back to your question is, I do see that the attacks could bolster the case of the regime that they are actually fighting armed gangs and terrorists. But I do also see that there are significant risks with that proposition. Simply because if the world starts to believe that there is a failed state in Syria and that Al-Qaeda is gaining a stronger presence in the country, that could facilitate military intervention, something that the government is actually trying very hard to prevent.
Now, of course, the Arab League has been there trying to monitor the situation, come under a lot of criticism because the killings have continued. Has it actually achieved anything?
Well, first of all, we need to keep in mind that the mission of the observers is not to stop the killings. It is actually to report what is happening on the ground. But I'll still say that the mission itself, with its other parts, because it's the only one part of the observer mission, is failing for two reasons. One is, and I'm still struggling to figure this one out, it's whether it's a lack of capacity on the part of the Arab League or a lack of willingness. It could be a combination of both. And the other reason simply is that there is a limitation when it comes to what the observers can do on the ground, and that has been very clearly articulated by the Qataris themselves.
Now, one thing that a lot of people might find surprising is that the Arab League has actually asked Hamas, the Palestinian group, to intervene. Is this pragmatism or is it desperation? I'm
not sure. It's really an intriguing move on the part of the Arab League. When the United States, Turkey, all the Arabs try to convince Syria to change its ways but fail, I'm not sure how Hamas, which at the end of the day is a guest on Syrian territory, could do any better. So I'm not sure.
And also a terrorist organization according to the US State Department.
Absolutely.
So if the Arab League, if the international community at large is failing to make an impact, what prospect for peace is there in Syria, or is civil war inevitable?
Well, we're already heading in the direction of civil war, and I keep arguing that it is not really premature to say that we are in that state of civil war. And I also feel like I keep repeating myself when I say that before we explore options by the international community in terms of what they can do to stop the violence, we need to have a very, very clear message on the part of the opposition on what they really want. Unfortunately, they're still divided, and those divisions and weaknesses are becoming more obvious.
Bilal Saab, thank you very much for joining us.
Sure. No problem.